jobs are available in the US, Canada, all over the world. Because when you finish a PhD from the UK, Canada, or US, you are well sought after, or anywhere in the world. Jobs are, in fact, you'll be choosing jobs, you'll be changing jobs, you know. So that's the advantage of doing a PhD there. So if you are looking at that, like I said, initially you have to be humble, okay? You have to do your master's program, okay? Do your master's program, then try and get your PhD. So go to PhD, pharmacology, chemistry, pharmaceutics, any aspect of pharmacy. Then after that, you can apply for postdoctoral research, you can apply for even your PhD research abroad, and of course you get it. So I wish you guys the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. We're going to move to the very last question now, and after that, we're going to be taking questions from the audience. From what we heard so far today, the keynote speech and everything, I'm sure we'll have very capable persons here to take those questions. And this question is specifically to our daddy here, and it's a question about entrepreneurship, basically, and getting into that space. I mean, we have to start very small now. It means that we'll be employed, right, as maybe as pharmacists working on that. So, what do you think in your idea that a fresh graduate should realistically expect as a pay? I mean, are we talking 150,000 naira for living? I mean, for living school now, is it 150,000 naira? Is it 200,000 naira? And what are those things that you think we could leverage to be able to negotiate for more? That is, things that we can do to ensure that we can speak and negotiate for more in that space.
You are asking about entrepreneurship, right?
Not necessarily now. Going into working under someone who is an entrepreneur, yes. Okay. Maybe the community space. Let's say your community pharmacy, for example. I decide to come to your community pharmacy, and I decide to want to negotiate for more salary. What are those things you think I should start doing now that will enable me to be able to negotiate and you will listen to me? Yes.
All right. Okay, that's a good one. Those outside, I think you should come inside.
Come inside.
Not those who are outside to come inside. Because... Okay, I'm chairman. All right. Good afternoon again, right? Are we still together?
Very well.
I would like you to wave your hand like if you are still here. This discussion, obviously not boring, right? Okay. All right. I would answer the question from two angles. Okay. Firstly, if you leave school now, you can actually start making money while you are still in school. Let me give you, like for example, I stopped collecting money from my dad at 400 level. Before 500 level, I stopped collecting money because I was actually making so much money. I thought people, money is the easiest thing to make if you can solve a problem, and you have to be tactical. You have to use your mind. Are you getting it? See, it's not by hard work. The Bible is a good book. It says, by strength may no man prevail. If it is by hard work, those who carry block, they should have been the richest. Have you seen those who pusher? See them with their muscles pushing that truck. They should have been so rich. That else is not that makes the person rich. Now, you as a pharmacist, you have something that is an edge. My first degree was not pharmacy before I studied pharmacy. You see, you have an edge above those who study biochemistry, anatomy, because they are not regulated. They don't have a backing like the way you have. See, for example, now, look at, you're seeing men of timber, Epiton, powerful personalities talking to you because you are special. But you won't find that in biochemistry. I know what I'm telling you. You have your colleague who are studying those courses, right? You won't find that there. But you have an edge. Because you can actually walk into my pharmacy. There's one guy who graduated from the pharmacy already. I was paying this guy close about 150, 200 while he was still a student. During the COVID era, right? He had actually come to know someone that would do in the community pharmacy space. And in fact, even the pharmacy who is already a licensed pharmacy would really wonder whether this guy is still in school because he had come to know nearly everything we do there. Like they say, practice make what? Perfect. That's why you even go for your internship. To watch, to study. Now to bridge the gap between theory and what? Practical. Now, to make money is easy if you contribute. If you apply to any of the community pharmacy, maybe any of them, and say, please, I want to do a locum, just a locum, I want to assist. Of course, the person will want to give you money if you are contributing, right? Like, you already in 600 level, right? Yes. In no time, you'll be finishing. Before you get your internship placement, please, there are several community pharmacies that need your services. And the minimum will pay locum now is about 100 and something thousand there. Intern, like that. Then even as an intent, my intent, then let me answer this other part. There are some special supplements. Today we are in preventive medicine. Preventive as in preventive healthcare, right? You are not looking at we're talking about how to prevent the pathology. We're not waiting for the person to be sick first before you treat. We all know today that we don't eat good food like that. People don't eat good food, they just eat gala, coke. And so they are deficient of so many nutrients. Are we communicating? And many of the pathology they suffer from is a result of this deficiency. You see a grown-up man at 40-something, moves over at 50, approaches some of us, still eating gala, coke. And we all know what those things are, carbonated drink. So far you know what's happening, he's having ulcer, he's having this pain. There are some very quality supplements today that are being sold in the pharmaceutical space. It's not just antibiotics alone. If I hardly give patients antibiotics these days, before I give you an antibiotic, because it doesn't, in Nigeria, we just give antibiotics. You stay abroad now. Even me at the pharmacy, I was in Malaysia one time. I had the cough. I was asking, say, no, you can't give me. They don't even want to, even if you serve as the pharmacy, can't even take the antibiotics like that. He has to go through a medical doctor, and even that same doctor cannot keep that drug with him. It's well regulated. If the doctor is found without antibiotics, he will be in trouble. It must be the concern of the pharmacy. Are you getting me? So it's not like maybe the doctors are like God. The pharmacies have their own space too. What am I trying to say? There, it's a well-regulated structure. Coming back to the area, they give supplements out a lot there. They hardly give chemical drugs. They hardly give antibiotics, all of those stuff. Most of my Indian pharmacies, there are some supplements that if they sell that supplement, they get 2,000 naira. Am I correct? 2,000, 3,000. Yes, part of your salary. So some can actually say, for example, popular coenzyme Q10. CQ10. Ubiquitous, right? It's a powerful antioxidant. I worked on glutathione in my master's degree. Glutathione? The tripeptide, remember? Glycine, glutamic acid. We have such supplement. If you sell a cup of it, you get extra 2,000. So if you sell 10 in that day, anybody can take glutathione. You don't need to be sick first. It's just like vitamin C. Do you need to be sick to take vitamin C? If I ask some of you today, have you taken any fruit today? The answer is no. Am I correct? Apple is so expensive now. But you can actually give a person about 1,000 milligram vitamin C, the cup. They know for every single one you sell, you get 2,000 naira. Do you know, there's one of the students that finished on the pharmacy, Omo Neizena. He was the break guy student for farm chemistry and pharmaceutics. He's actually doing an internship in one of my pharmacies. And I gave her a free accommodation, free house, everything. Because I bought the property, I own the property. Do you know there was a day she had sold close to about 20 at the end of a particular one. 2,000 times 10, how much is that? Extra 20,000. And they don't need the cashier are going to call me first. Give them the money without my permission. And that is different from my salary. So there are several ways you can make money. Like one aspect I snap that many of people are not exploiting is actually online pharmacy. Not setting a pharmacy online, but you can actually market some quality supplement online. Today you find a lot of people who are not pharmacy. Who say that there's a lady that came to my place. My wife, there's a particular group I belong to. I registered the woman free of charge with my own money. But I thought she was not serious. Then my wife sent a video to me. You have this online, it look like all this film these days you see online, look like human being. You can actually make a full movie now, AI. And this lady was explaining the product with an AI. I said, you can do this. He said, yes. I said, they come. I think I should take you more serious now. You have access to collect any product now without paying money for it. But make sure when you sell, collect your own, give company back his own. And I'll make sure you qualify for the next trip based on this. And the lady is so happy. That was yesterday here. What am I telling you? If people who are not farmers, you should linguist it. This is etiquette in primary school and secondary school. If these persons are coming in, how about you? Do you know the years you put in? This 3 years called 4 years. Now you put in 6 years. That tells you that you have a lot. You can actually go into that area. Like one guy approached me. If you meet me and say I want product, we'll give you products. I like supply chain. You know, it's a very good aspect which you can go into. Believe you me, there's so much you can make financially as a pharmacy. Then to wrap it up, if you finish, of course, you know internship. Don't waste time waiting for UBTH. For UBTH pay more than community pharmacy. Don't do that. Before you know what's happening, 3 years, 2 years. Please, if you can get a space in the community pharmacy, I did my internship with drug fee. Industrial pharmacy. They might not pay like some other. Please go the regulatory pharmacy. There's PCA, right? Get it. Do it fast. Are you with me? When you finish, you know, Benin City. Kudos to our chairman here, the chairman PSN Edo State. I think you should clap for Dr. Brice Secretary. Because when we came into government, these are our last year serving. We actually did something, and the salary of alongside working with Dr. Duke, right? Alongside with our former chairman, which is highly esteemed Dr. Sato, they did something and they raised the salary, right? And those states community pharmacy earn far better. I pay most of my community pharmacy 350,000, 300,000. Right? That's the minimum. And they can still make money from, do you know you can actually still make money from, they have just 8 hours to put in. You can choose to say, okay, can I give 2 extra hours? I pay you for it. 3 extra after your closing time. So you can make money from, at the same time, while you are actually thinking of how to make money online. Then let me chip in something. You know, I like farming. I met a pharmacy who is into slave farming. They posted him to a rural area. This guy was so happy because he was able to get a big land. In a rural area, they eat fresh food. They eat better food than us. I'm telling you, in the rurals, they eat. That's one reason why I didn't like Lagos. You can't really get good food in some places. I worked in Lagos for about 5 years. Busy. Like when you're talking about location, I told my company that if you transfer me, when I was transferred out of Lagos, I told them if you transfer me back to Lagos, I'll resign that very day. Because it's a busy life over nothing. Are you following me? Sorry if you stay in Lagos here. You might not understand it, you come to Benin. If you work in Lagos and you come back to Benin, you will know that Benin has a sweet life. Are you getting on? Okay, where you can come home and meet your kids. Lagos, you can't even meet. Some people don't even know their children. That's another day. This guy got a job in a rural area. Set up a big farm for snail. I don't know if you know the giant snail, the one they call Acatina marginata. The giant snail. Acatina marginata. The guy is into snail production. He goes for his job normally. But when he comes back in the evening, the rural has a lot of vegetables. You know, this thing eats leaves, gets the leaf, feed the snail, and he brings this thing to the big town to sell. I don't even know snail is very expensive. So you can, and he's making so much money. In fact, when I was anytime I want to book an hotel, there must be a gym. I like to exercise myself in the morning. When we went to the gym section together, I was the kind of figure this guy was calling from snail meat. You know, one snail, 5K, 6K. See, to make money is the easiest thing in this world if you can use your brain. Are you getting me? So entrepreneurship, don't worry, there's another talk. We'll find a way to come and if it is possible, I don't know, we'll still think of coaching you as far as business is concerned some other time. But I would like to take my lead. So I want to plead. If there is any question anybody wants to ask me specifically, let them ask before I leave. Please, my elders here are my seniors because I don't want, I know that maybe so like very what's her name? Waila. Someone that was always calling. Where's from us? Miracle. She's outside. Okay, in case there's anybody that wants to ask me a specific question as Director Pharmacy or anything that I'm not an authority in industry. I worked with drug feed, but I was a rep. Or you want to, for example, I can help you get into the rep space very fast. I worked in more than 24 states in Nigeria. See, there's so many things, but if you have a specific question, please just ask me before I leave. I'm not into supply chain. I like that area very well. But, you know, like as I said, they have a lot of work to see to there. Because they bring it to me, right? So please, if you have anything, just ask before I take my leave.
Thank you so much, sir. Please, let's put our hands together once again. And we're going to be taking questions now. So, if anyone of us have any questions, you can just put your hands up and you'll be taking the microphone. specific question. So just say which of the speakers you want to. Okay, please. Just go ahead. It's just go straight to the point and.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, distinguished friends. So my question specifically concerning community pharmacy and possibly specifically the pharmacy. I don't know, as an employer of pharmacists, the employer is fresh pharmacist and the pharmacy gets into like your pharmacy practice. What are those specific skills that when these your employees come, you want them to learn to or to have rather to maintain the standards you as an employer want to operate by? I'm asking for two reasons. First off, so I know the skills and develop myself, and also because I'm actually trying to build something that helps. It's like a website slash AI interactive platform that helps these young pharmacists and even employers. It's a tool that okay, these employers can give. Oh, I have this new employee. Instead of going through a long process trying to train, making mistakes, I have this. Okay, take this, use this, maybe a course and everything, and then you get this training. So I don't know if
Okay, let me just react to our question very briefly. It's a simple one. Firstly, we see pharmacists these days, they come, they dress anyhow. Don't dress anyhow. You see pharmacy just fly his shirts, wear slippers. There was one that came for an interview. In fact, I didn't take it because of the way he dressed. You see the way doctors carry themselves, am I correct? They don't know more than you. Remember, they did pharmacology just once or twice. Hello? Though you are not supposed to do surgery, that's the area. But because they say dress the way you should be addressed. Sister, number one, dress well. When you come to meet me, the first thing I look at is the way you are looking, the way you look. Right? Make sure you look good. Make sure your shirt is well tucked. As a lady, just look decent. That's one. Secondly, if you are employed, please be punctual. Be punctual. Don't come late to work. I don't tolerate it. My pharmacy open by 7. If you like me with a passion, because I like people who are reliable and dependable, right? You know about the saga that happened in the place in Ukraine that was formerly part of Russia, Novi, the nuclear reactor. It was negligent. Someone was supposed to, nuclear fission, right? When you're trying to bombard, you're supposed to put electrode to bring this thing down. Someone failed to do that at the time it was supposed to do. And that was what caused that disaster. And that whole area was condemned for several years. Today, nobody still lives in Chernobyl because of that radioactive poisoning. So make sure you are there when you're supposed to be there. And then 3, like they said, be very humble. Don't assume you know everything. I'm not expecting you to be a mental giant when you just come in fresh. We want to teach you, right? Someone said if your cup is full, you cannot, nothing can be pouring. When you come there, that's why I like Omo. Even if I'm praying, there's some of them that I've tried of them. The 2 of them are so exceptional because they are very humble and they are willing to learn. Don't go there and think because you are happy, you know more than the other staffs. No, calm down, right? Like there was a movie I watched one time. This young man went to beat a taekwondo champion to teach him how to fight. And the man was like, okay, what do you know about it? He said, oh, the monkey style, the snake style, we're just saying too many things. I said, you already know everything. Now, what am I going to do? He said, empty your cup. Are you getting me? So once you do that, believe you me, as far as they say monkey see, monkey do. You watch what we're doing, right? And believe me, dress well, be punctual. Are you getting me? And be non-assuming, be prepared to learn more. See, your sky cannot limit you. Those are the 3 things I look at. I don't really want to know whether you know the whole book. You can come my first class. School can give you a first class. Life can give you a deal. Are you not aware? There are those that finish from school very sound, but in life today they can barely feed. They can barely take care of their basic needs. Are you getting? They can even not. Many of the countries that most of us just fly to and come back as if it's nothing, they can't even afford it. Because why? Financially they are done. But academically they were very strong. It's not all about academics. It has to balance, right? That's everything. Thank you so much. Any other questions?
Just before you just counting that question. Please, if you have questions, just put your hand. Let's go ahead first. We don't.
My props.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Please note your number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You'll be Okay, let's just say you're one. Okay, what's the number? 6, 7, and then it will be 8. Let's see now. Listen to. Perfect.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. So, I'm going to committee. I have 2 questions, but I have to start with this. First of all, you used to tell us that you learn to start early and don't wait till you get so old before you start practicing and the rest. And also, I know that, or I understand that we have been privileged to work with some community pharmacies. I understand that it's not as easy to scale a community pharmacy the way they made us to understand that it's blood money. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of ability and leadership and management skills to be able to do this. Now, what are the things that you think is required for a young pharmacist who wants to get into community pharmacy? And also, we know that community pharmacy requires a lot of financial bodies to set up recently. And also, I've seen cases where community pharmacies have been established and is not scaling, is not there. Some are even closed down after years and sometimes, and it's not easy to scale per se. So what are the things that I think is required of someone, a young man that wants to go into community pharmacy? Now, the second question I have is that I've been talking about innovation in pharmacy practice, stepping out of the 4 walls and the rest. Personally, I am someone that always has this vision of, okay, I don't want to limit myself to these 4 walls of community pharmacy shop and also scale and out other things. Now, I and my team, because I actually have a team, have been working on something which I've built a prototype for it, a website, or we're working towards an app that will help a telepharmacy app, which also not just for clinical practice, also helps to connect pharmaceutical companies and the rest. So, okay.
I'll stop it. I know where you're going to. There's a lot of app like that now. There's a lot of app, and you're doing well. Let me just answer your first question. Let me start with those see your face very well. Can you see me? Good. See, when it comes to finance, it's the simple part. See, remember what I said at the beginning, you need a mentor, right? Work with somebody. When you're working with a community pharmacy, you will see suppliers. It won't hide them from you. You will see suppliers. You will know those who supply them. And now, to raise money, you were taught that in school, but I will still just tell you some few things there. See, there's the aspect of what we call soft loan. Okay? Soft loan. No soft loan? Money persons can give to you that they don't need back. And one of the biggest currency most of you don't know is called integrity. What did I just say? It's a currency you can't buy it's a big financial currency. It's finance. Now, when I was starting my community pharmacy, because I was a senior medical at the time, I became almost a manager in drug field. They knew my integrity. They knew that my account was always balancing. I was not interested in buying big phone. So if you want to go very far, please, there's a word called delay certification. Are you hearing me? Don't have that. Don't try to compete with anybody. All these suits, you buy them later. Now, because of the fact that my account was always clean, my record was always fine. When I was going to set up my own, and I wanted products from this company, right? They said, come, what do you want? We'll give you product. 5 months, don't pay. Just sell. There were some other companies that I've done business with in the past. Comatex. Comatex in Port Harcourt. In fact, I just signed you into one big business. For example, when I was in Akure some weeks ago, there's a business I just spoke with the Zubik. Right there, he transferred the 10 million. Because he said, I knew you when you were a rep 20 years ago. Anything you say, you do it. Lloyd's Pharmacy in Port Harcourt too. What am I saying? You see, there's all about credibility and integrity. That is a currency. That's why you must first work on that somewhere to prove it. I won't just see your face and say you have integrity. I need to know your track record, right? So once companies know, they will give you these goods. Like I do say, if I know you very well and you walk up to meet me, there's one that came to meet me and was finding this pharmacy. I said, all right, I'll give you goods worth 5 million. I'll give you 4 months. But make sure, that's one question many of you have not asked, is your location. That was one thing I thought they would ask here. Location of setting up a community pharmacy. That's one mistake I find a lot of community pharmacists make. They set up a community pharmacy, that's why they fail. See, location is key. There are some called, I taught that in the CPM meeting one time, trunk A, trunk B, trunk C, trunk BC. Today is not that day. Be careful when you are setting up a pharmacy in a pure trunk A road, a pure dualized road. It's very dangerous. Not dualized road. This person cannot turn his car to buy from you here. And then he now has a big gutter here, a big gutter there. And then you have no parking space. Who will come and buy from you? It's that kind of people now. Because there's nobody, anybody will he put his car on his head? Do you understand? So, if you want to, I know what I'm saying, that location matters a lot. Now, if you have the right location, companies will give you goods free of charge. They want to sell the goods now. Like our chairman said here, if you produce the goods, without the goods being sold, will the production continue? Then, if you produce it, will you sell it yourself? Does the market know how to sell the drug themselves? No, they will bring it to us. They'll bring it to my organ there. They'll bring it to me. Are you following me at all? Now, you must be in the right location. So that's one area that we need at least a minimum of 1 hour to be taught location siting. Because that's one area most people don't know. They just wake up one morning, they don't buy a premise anywhere, and they wonder why it failed because it is in the wrong place, right? You need a mixture of commercial, you need a mixture of residential, right? Pharmacy is like a primary healthcare place. And how many of you know that average Nigerian will first see a pharmacy before a doctor? Hello, who know? If I ask most of you here, when you are not feeling too fine, where do you go to? How many of you go to the hospital? Even with you having a free medical, do you go there? That tells you something. Are you following me? So starting up is simple. Money, how do you get the money? Work first. That's why you see many people work as a medical rep. Many of us that are medical rep knew we're not going to remain medical rep. Are you hearing me? Remember, I told you life is like playing Monopoly. Like playing what? Monopoly say this way you are going to. Monopoly say you can exchange 2 hours for an hotel. Are you getting what I'm saying? You start that way first. Raise that money. But you knew, while you're a medical rep, you get to know every other person. And you know those who have the drugs. This guy in Pfizer, this guy in Novi, this guy in AstraZeneca. You know all of them. Are you getting what I'm saying? Then you can ask, okay, I have this amount of money. I want to start with this. So it's another way. You can even get the goods free of charge, right? And then you can build up like that. Integrity is a what? Is a currency. Did I do justice to that question? Are you sure you see how you can raise money now? So you must start somewhere. You can get so. If 3 million is enough. If I tell you what money 3 million is, it can explode. Are you getting me? No, at the beginning, no bank will give you money. But today, you know what I'm talking about. Now the banks will come and be begging you. That's how my internet drive. I don't need loan. I get my own money, go. But the beginning, they won't give you. But when you are in the right location, you won't fail. I don't have the mindset of failing. So we don't fail. Say it again, we don't fail. Good. So, but if you have that mindset that you will fail, you're certainly going to fail. As a man thinketh in his heart. I think I might not have been so good, but at least I have my guys there. Any other one? That's the offer.
All right, let's put our hands together for our very distinguished Thomas. Thank you so much, sir. We are very grateful. The class of Novi Generis say a very, very big thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Yes. Okay, yes, the next question, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Princess, and I'm about to level class. So I really appreciate Destiny for the financial committee for setting up this program. My question is actually directed to Pharmacist Emmanuel, but I think it's there now.
Okay, so I'll call it.
So to give like a background of what my question is about. Before now, my knowledge about the career opportunity when it comes to pharmacy were kind of restricted to just hospital setting, community setting, industrial. We didn't really get to know that there's anything
services that happen in the hotel, they will need a supply chain to maintain those services. For their disinfectant, they use to clean the hotel rooms, for their, what they call it now, their linen they put on the bed. Everything you think of yourself, you need a supply chain to actually maintain it. The supply chain happens to be that entire system that looks at you getting a final product or a final service from a particular area. The system that you have to go through, the raw material, the human resources, the administrative, the organization, that you have to go through to actually get that. The supply chain encapsulates that. However, supply chain goes beyond, okay, you let me mention logistics. Logistics I've mentioned is just one aspect of supply chain. Supply chain goes beyond just the movement of commodities, because we actually use that today. Yeah, if you are not careful, you will think all the way supply chain is actually logistics and transportation. It's just an aspect. So when you think about a product, the drug that no matter what we manufacture, how will that drug move from that industry to the final client? Remember, the final client, not to the place where it is stored, not the place where it is distributed, to the final client, not into the trucks that move it from one location to another, but the final client. That is all supply chain. The supply chain is looking at holistically all that happens from the product, from the raw material to the final product. Because a company that manufactures drugs, for example, will need to get the API from another company, for example. They will need to get it. So they will need a supplier to actually, somebody that is involved in that, to actually ensure that they get this API on time, in the right quantity, and in the right place, and actually use it to produce whatever drug they want to produce. The supply chain is all the entire system that looks at it. You are right by saying that supply chain happens to be a little view. You know why I was in school, I wasn't taught supply chain. I wasn't taught supply chain. But when I got to the hospital setting enables you to do a little of supply chain. Because in the hospital setting, there is, before now, I don't know if you still, that's before now, we used to have the drug DROI. DROI is the supply chain system on its own, in a very small area. Because in a system where you look at giving out contracts, looking at procurement, when the drugs come, you look at where you have to warehouse those drugs, you look at the process. If your warehouse is not where your actual service location is, you look at ways of transporting those things to where your service location is. The supply chain encapsulates all those items. However, supply chain became so necessary when pandemic started happening. Like you notice in COVID-19, the main problem with COVID-19 is the supply chain. Hope you know. The PPE, the personal protective equipment, the face mask and everything was simply supply chain. The war that Trump is fighting with Iran today, it was only when supply chain came in that people came to the table to start listening. Because somebody blocked a channel where crude goes through. Supply chain, logistics and transportation. That's the way that people came to the table and said, let's talk about it. So supply chain is there. It has been there. Although in our own location, we don't pick it as a profession that pharmacists should go into before now. But it's a profession that if you go into as a pharmacist, because of your knowledge of drugs, because of your knowledge of cosmetics, because of your knowledge of the edibles and the drinks and everything, all those knowledge comes into play, into strengthening you to be a good supply chain expert. In looking at the raw material, looking at that cycle of production. And while you're looking at the cycle of production, there's also another component. You know, I mentioned earlier here that there's supply chain analysis, an area where people should go into. I took my time one time at this age, I actually went to a class. I guess I was the oldest in that class. I went to class and I did data analysis. I did Python, I did what they call this other one. I did SQL, I did Power BI, I did Tableau, I did those things. Just because I noticed that in supply chain, just as you have the logistics cycle, there is that data aspect of it. that drive the whole system. And if you are not knowledgeable in how to use those data to drive the system, you might end up being a supply chain expert at one level and you cannot proceed. So, school doesn't give you the knowledge that you need for supply chain, but your practice will give you. I practiced in UPTH, the hospital setting, and I got the knowledge of what supply chain was. Even with that, I still was blank with what it was. For me, it was just logistics and transportation. But when I left there, I noticed that supply chain expert as the one that speaks with other companies and do negotiation on procurement. They want to procure millions of drugs. They do negotiation on procurement. They even procure the logistic and transport system that moves the quantity from one end to another. It's supply chain. It's supply chain that do the planning and the forecasting. They do the quantification. Sit down and say, oh, if we've actually, although machines are taking over that road now, but still humans are the ones that operate those machines. So we still have a road. If you want to move, if you want to actually do this program or this intervention, or you want to scale up an existing intervention, what do you do? What do you need to actually achieve that? The supply chain that actually do that. The planning and the forecasting and the quantification. The supply chain is, that's why I said that everything that we'll be talking about, everything is driven by the supply chain. As an area that we're going to actually make so much gain and everything. But don't go into supply chain with just the knowledge that you have from pharmacy. You can start, but while you are there, build yourself. Build yourself. There are a lot of programs. There was a program that I wanted to do before the dollar rate became so high. The program then was about 1.5 billion, but now I know it's about 3 or 4 million. Is this certification that you get, a certified supply chain professional? At that level of getting that certification, you are above your best. If you have those that in supply chain, you are above them. Your salary jumps like, let me not say, in dollars, you are above them. And you are respected by every company, not just companies in Nigeria, because most companies in Nigeria, what they practice as supply chain is not actually supply chain. They just take an aspect of it. In fact, every company does an aspect of supply chain. The person doing procurement might not be the person doing the logistics and transportation. Like my own organization, we do procurement of public health commodities, malaria commodities, HIV commodities, family planning, all those commodities used in those facilities, family health care center all around the country. However, we are not in charge of it. It's our responsibility, but we have to give it out to an expert in that area because it's a big game all on its own. So supply chain is actually that area that fits into connect all the different sections of pharmacy that we've not been looking at before now. Luckily for us, the development sector projects. Now we are selling it to government, and we hope that government will also buy it, so that when government buy into it, you all be good for it, but at the end of the day, it create a lot of stuff. Then lastly, the area of supply chain that deals with logistics and transportation is an area that is paying so well, but pharmacists are not into it. Because we have this disadvantage, we feel that you have to set up the logistics chain. You know, when COVID-19 came, we saw a lot of riders around, these bike people that it was COVID-19 that brought it. And that is supply chain. So somebody woke up one day and said that, now that people are locked in their houses, they cannot leave. How do I ensure that they get their product? And somebody said, okay, let me get a bike on the streets. And we see most commodities from one point to another. Supply chain. And today, you can see them all around. People have actually expanded. So why can't pharmacists come together and actually create what we call vendors? Vendors are like, an example of vendors are like the DHL, the FedEx, although those are bigger names. But in supply chain, you can go into it and just look at an area that you have to cover. You might not be doing everything. You might not be able to move coaching. Because to move coaching, you need so many equipment and everything. But you look at areas where you can cover and you work on that. A group of people can come together and actually start off something. Vendor management. Because most companies will not do the logistics and transportation of the supply chain themselves. It costs a lot of money, it takes a lot of time, it involves a lot of resources, human resources and everything. So instead of having vehicles on the road that will get spoiled on the road and not get somebody to fix it, they assert that somebody that is responsible have that as their expertise. Give it to them and tell them to run it while you look at the bigger things within your project. So hope that answers it. Then the last one is that before you go into supply chain, especially if you are going to do supply chain, not the e-commerce, like working with Amazon, you want to work with donor agency, you want to work with government structure that include movement of trust and everything. You need to understand public health. If you're in a room where people understand public health and pharmacists, they will let behind. You need to understand when they speak those languages, when they use those terms, you need to know what they're talking about. When they talk about mortality rate, you need to know what it is. And when you know what it is, you are also going to handle it from the drug aspect of it. So you need to contribute in that way that this is what we can actually do. If the problem is that the women are not getting their medication at the hospitals, how do we solve it? We can actually do this and this and this to actually get it solved. So please, masters in public health is a must for everybody. You can decide to do any other master after that. But masters in public health is a must for you. It places you in a position where you can actually work anywhere. As far as their structures, their infrastructures there, their human beings there, and their facilities, you can work there. And you can even decide not to work in facility and work in other places. So please, keep it. Masters in public health. And there are a lot of them now, even cheaper ones. I know university is a bit expensive, but they want you to work to do what do you call it? It's actually it's not actually the weekend program anymore. It's a full-time program course now. So there are other people that do this online NPS program. ABU do that very cheap. With ABU, you spend less than 600,000. And it's not because it's online, it is not competitive. It's online and it's competitive. So please try that out. You can be working and doing that. You have your lectures in the evening. You write your exam at the particular time, then you can choose to do your work after we get that.
Amazing. Please let's put our hands together. Let's put our hands together for we still have more questions, please. We still have more questions for Dr. Emmanuel, but we'll come back to Dr. Emmanuel. Pharmacist Emmanuel. Okay, thank you so much, sir. There's a question here specifically for pharmacists Aloysius and again. And the question goes first. What policy or technology has recently been implemented in your primary business, and where did you realize the need for such implementation? What policy or technology has recently been implemented in your primary business, and when did you realize the need for such implementation?
Thank you very much. I would say it is organization. When I say organization, I found out at the time that a pharmacy revolved around me. So I had to, this time, try to decentralize it for myself. Such that even without me, my pharmacies are wrong. So we have to bring in technology. Then we have to employ more staff with designated roles. So we know what everybody is doing. So we now have departments. Though we started newly, but we're trying to build on it. When we started it, it looks like it's crazy because it looks like we're spending more money, on nothing. But we're trying to build a structure that will actually allow the pharmacy to outlive the innovators, the originators. That is actually how every business outlives the innovators. If you continue to allow the business to revolve around you, the business will not outlive you, and you may not actually have that time to venture into other things. Like you see, some people have also left their businesses in Nigeria and traveled out of the country, and those businesses are doing well. it is only when you have good organizational structure that those things can actually put in place. So that is one thing we're trying to do. Though in community practice, sometimes it looks like if you don't want to do that on time because you feel your staff will get to know all the secrets of the business, when you buy everything, how much money you make, and maybe one day they will let kidnappers, after you, kind of. But if you continue to think that way, your business will begin. And again, when you also going to think of maybe the amount of money you will spend in hiring a lot of staff to be in charge of a lot of things, well, initially, if you are not prepared for it, you'll find out that you may start losing money. But over time, when you are prepared for it, you will be prepared to pay for such services. You come to a pharmacy premises, security, you see the people that are in charge of stocks, you see the people that are in charge of maybe finance, then the people that are in charge of the clinicals that will attend to you on the counter. Yes. When you actually have such a company says, okay, we are running promo. You are running promo and you buy a lot of drugs that on your records, you have actually not sold a pie or like 10% of what you're trying to procure. It doesn't make sense. So you actually have to build these things in. And that is one thing we have done in our premises now, and it has helped a lot. Though we are spending more money, but we have seen that we are on the pathway to becoming self-sufficient and pathway to actually building a conglomerate. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next question is specifically to pharmacist Martin. The question is, for someone interested in hospital pharmacy who wants to make an impact in that area, what gap do you think that pharmacist can fill?
Thank you for the question. It said that the gap that the pharmacist fill, there's really a lot of gap in the hospital space that pharmacist needs to fill. So you talked about, when you started the question, you talked about so much focus on clinical pharmacy. Is it like shifting away from the production aspect and all those things? It's because of the fact that when it comes to the healthcare things, provision of health to the patient now, the person that needs that care. There are several lists of healthcare professionals, of which pharmacist is one that you cannot, is indisposable. But when it comes to the theme, provision of the care, because of the previous focus, where we're focusing on drugs, the products, I kind of let the clinical aspect, the patient centered care. So that's why this push for clinical pharmacy. In my number of years I've worked in Limited, I have identified areas as I move across different sessions in the hospital. I have identified areas that the pharmacist's role is being played by either the doctor or the nurse or the other form of technicians. So for instance, I worked in the theater. In that theater, we just do pre-pack. We pre-pack all the anesthetic drug, resuscitation drug, and anesthetic drug, resuscitation drug, and all those other adjunct medication. All that we do is just to give it to them. But right there in the operation room, there is no operation room pharmacy, which is an area of specialization. Is the anesthetic technician who they train. How many? I don't know how many months or years it is in UBTH there, and you see a doctor coming there to train them just little knowledge about drugs. They are the one that now play the part of the role of the pharmacist. They are the one that give them the medication with little or no contribution or impact because of the level of knowledge. But then outside of this source, you have operation room pharmacy. Even in intensive care too, you have intensive care critical care pharmacies, which some people have started entering into that area now. Recently in UBT, it's not too recently now, some years back, when I was in a team that carried out open that surgery. We done about 4. I think we succeeded in 2. We lost the other 2. But when it came to, they started looking for, we had to borrow specialists in the medical field, in the nursing field from other hospitals that are already doing it. They had to bring an intensive care nurse because they knew that the nurses that we have there cannot provide the kind of care. So the sensitivity, highly sensitive nature of that surgery. But nobody looks into pharmacy because of the ones that we lost may be from administration of drugs. So nobody is there to look into it because there's no pharmacy specialized there. In the geriatrics, for instance, where I've worked since 2014, initially after the training, this doctor resistance was there. They resisted participation for some time. Because we know we have clinical pharmacologists who feel they have knowledge of pharmacy. So they particularly, the one that was there particularly told me he will be doing the work of education reconciliation, and that reminded me of my impact for some time. But I didn't give up. Over the years, as I continue to persist, today, as it is now, if we are not permitted to be absent from the world run in a day out of the 5 days of the week, if it's even possible for us to come there, I will encourage finding for how we can win weekends also. That's the level we have got it to. And some of the doctors who are very receptive now, they want us, which we started before now. Some we will still get resistance from some. We write on the case notes interventions, just as you have those continuation sheets that doctors feel, physiotherapists feel, the pharmacists also feel. The doctor comes, sees whatever you have identified and the recommendations, and then based on that, they also, the guys that management, it's cut across everywhere. When I was in accident and emergency, that's where I actually started in 2013. I was also going along with them for ward runs. And one of those ward runs, the doctor just told me, people are talking about clinical pharmacy. Okay, yeah, clinical pharmacy. What antibiotic will be appropriate for soft tissue? This kind of injuries has to do with soft tissue. Then there is another one that has to do with blood injury to the abdomen that is not open. So what kind of antibiotic will be? So at that point, I just came into the system. I was thinking, it will require me to go back and start reading. So, but if you have a pharmacist who has currently undergone specialization and specialized in that area, you will have something to bring in. And if you have something to bring in, they are looking for such. We know that there are been resistance, but if a doctor knows, any doctor that knows that you have something to bring, they will be calling for you. In oncology now, in UBT, that's one area that we have actually made a mark. The oncology pharmacy, for those of you that have passed through that basis, president inside the world, and they also have they do this preparation, reconstitution, and all those things inside the world. So in all the areas, our relevance and our job has not really come at, because there's no pharmacist there. You will at best see a doctor trying to do the little they can do. You will see the nurse trying to do what the technician trying to do, and this is not good for our profession. The time will come when you see we need, the reason why we are lacking specialists in this area is because one, maybe the trainers are not there, and the people that are doing it, whether in nurses or technicians, you see the doctor that will go there to train them the little they can, and they will start doing those work. So, but if a pharmacist has gone into it, like as it is now, many of us have been, that's why in postgraduate postgraduate college of pharmacy, they now have some specialization. As at the time I finished, there was no specialization, because we were looking for specialists who will come and teach in the area of specialization. But now we now have interactives we don't have yet, but we are looking towards that. People who have been on the job become specialized or want to acquire knowledge by themselves elsewhere, and you now know that you have something that you can deliver, then you come and train others So when you get that training, and which the last of it is that certification. When you now have certification, then you are recognized, and you can feel you have somewhere to feel it. So across every area of medicine, pharmacists have a role, because you find drugs being used in more than 90% of medical intervention. More than 95% of medical intervention, you find drugs being used. So, and your knowledge as a pharmacist, if you go into clinical pharmacy and specialize, will be always be relevant. So we don't want a situation, don't want to see a situation by pharmacists like something or what they usually mind team lead in drug skills to stay at eyes, that they hasn't impact enough to place us where we're supposed to be. Because after the doctor is not, after the doctor, you talk of pharmacy before nurse and the others. But you see that when they are talking about healthcare team nationally, statewide, they will just mention doctor, the next people they will mention is who? Nurses. And some areas are from physiotherapy, because of the radar service, their service cannot be dispensable. So they are also now, incorporated them. They also come in. Occupational therapists also are coming. So the pharmacist is where our role is largely being marginalized and in the HS space. So that's the more reason why we need to make our disability more known in the HS.
We have about 3 questions left, and we'll move back to pharmacist Emmanuel now. There's a question here, sir. It says, please, sir, how do I go about gaining further knowledge about supply chain? Do I attend the CIPS program and become an expert, or do a master in supply chain? And also, how do I get network to practice after achieving this degree? That's the first question. And then the second is, how do I integrate supply chain into owning a community pharmacy later in the future?
I will attempt to answer the first question, and I will throw the next question to the community pharmacy expert. For the first question, first of all, pharmacy school has prepared you for actually anything. That's why you see pharmacy school in MTN and the rest. However, I don't think they do that with both degrees. I mentioned something earlier. I said you have to have an MBA. That is, if you want to go into the health sector supply chain. If you want to go into the e-commerce supply chain, you need to know how business actually runs. You need to have a degree in MBA, or you need to have a degree in business management and business. You need to know how business is run. You need to know how projects or how business are being managed. Having certification in project management, for example. So it has a lot of areas. You can't go into supply chain and go into supply chain and entity. You just have to pick up a particular area in supply chain that you want to focus on. So if you are going to focus on procurement, that means you have to go and do something on law, something on regulation. What are the regulations that exist in terms of national procurement, in terms of international procurement? They are doing a program in Unibank now. They are doing a procurement program in Unibank, being sponsored by CIPS and World Bank also. Here you can actually get a master's degree in procurement. That means you are thinking of going to the supply chain area that covers procurement, contract management, supplier management, procuring commodities and other areas. However, there are certifications that you can also get that will enable you start up something while you look at the long term of getting another degree. you can actually look at certification. What are certification there is? There is a supply chain certification within Nigeria, just like you have the CIPS. CIPS is Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply UK. There is a branch of it in Nigeria. There is a transport, logistics and transportation certification body in Nigeria. So all you have to do is link up, join those groups, do their certification. Certification is actually a very short time. So it's not like your master program that you spend a year. And if you go to a school where they don't like graduating students, you spend 2 or 3 years for a 12-month program. So you can actually get this certification and to help you actually pick up. The area of supply chain and starting up a community pharmacy. So I think it's the other way around. You start up a community pharmacy and you build a supply chain system within it. Or you rely on the available supply chain system to ensure that your community pharmacy is actually moving. You might not be able to build one, you rely on the available supply chain. You read when they mention things about having network of where those drugs are. Having network of where those drugs are. Having network of where the producers, the manufacturers are, the distributors are. That on its own is a supply chain that looks at logistics and transportation, movement of those items. So if you build a network around that, it will enable you get your drugs when you need them at your house. So for that second question, it is not supply chain to community pharmacy. It's community pharmacy starting and you improve on your supply chain. Or you look at where the supply chain is and actually network with it. You definitely would not need to, I don't know if we got it to that stage. I think we got it to that stage now where you might not need to actually move from where you are to actually get a product in. You know that if you want to get a product, you need to go to the established market, or you need to go to the manufacturer. There are systems now that help you bring those products. Those are supply chain. So your community pharmacies exist and you strengthen whatsoever supply chain that you want to do. So now you are looking at using an internal system to run your supply chain in those community pharmacies, or you are looking at an external system. External system will mean you having people around that you know if you need this antibiotic, there is somebody that you call that will send those things to you at a particular time. So you never look at internally creating your system, externally what are the systems that are available for you to actually do your supply chain. So it's the other way around. Your pharmacy, community pharmacy will need to start, and your supply chain comes in. Is that okay? Who asked that question? Okay, then answer. Was I able to answer or? Okay, but I will still want him to speak from the community aspect. Let him just tell us more.
Let's put our hands together.
Thank you very much, my dear Master. When I see young graduates, I want to maybe later go into practice. I normally tell them, you can first of all pick up a job as a medical and sales representative. Or, if you don't want to go through that route, work in a community pharmacy. There is need to actually learn before you go into it. Well, some of us also do not just practice like that. General pharmacy experience is just 10 years. Very interesting. Okay. But I left pharmacy school in 2004. So wonders. When I started, yes. I first of all moved into medical and sales representative with Christian Healthcare Limited. He mentioned it sometime that both of us were employed the same day. We were trained, then employed the same day. But after, I'm not sure it was up to a month, then we got cut out for this moving around. Then before it was sent to the production unit. Well, for some of us, that's the whole one. Like I already mentioned before now, I was the past president I was past secretary before I became past president. So moving around, we're used to it. Even as past president or secretary general, while people were attending lectures, we are going to Lagos, going to different places, trying to source funds for PANS. But I will still talk to the people that are into PANS. It's also a risky one. Yes, a lot of past presidents failed. Yes, a lot of failed. That was also why they decided to, when you started family, they had to move past presidency from 6 to 5. But I can say that it didn't work. They had to move it back to 600 level again. Yes, so some of us now enter into medical and sales representative job. Now, why we are doing that? Because you are covering a lot of community pharmacies, or primarily you're already learning supply chain, informally. And bulk of the trainings you will get will also be on supply chain. Those laws we talked about first in, first out. This time around, we say first expiry, first out. You have to apply it there. While you are picking your stock from the company store house, you have to make sure you sell the ones that are supposed to expire first before the ones that will expire much later. So then we continue to cross pharmacies. I cover 3 states: Ondo, Delta, and Edo. Yeah, because during our time too, we have fewer pharmacies. Unlike now, we have a quite number of pharmacies. And again, during my time too, we have fewer numbers of people that actually had other biological sciences in medical or sales prepping. Though in recent times, they are not specifically say, okay, the pharmacists will be medical reps, while the other discipline will now be sales representative. So, but they actually taught us a lot of things. From there, I moved into the banking industry. Yes, from Pittston, I went into Victoria Trust Bank, that later became Sterling Bank. Before I left, I was the branch manager of Sterling Bank branch in Novi. So, we continue to learn supply chain. So, when I came into community practice, it was easy for me to just come in. Because of my knowledge in rep work, I understood the network of reps. I also knew I have to get the numbers of almost all the medical reps, but because I've been into it, I know almost all the managers and even some of their national sales managers. So it was easy for me to getting all the things I needed. So you can actually proceed opening a community pharmacy by going into medical and sales representative for companies. You will interact with community pharmacies. You get to know, even while we were repping, we knew people, reps that sell, that the products sell more than ours do. Yes. And some of us also moved from companies to companies, though I didn't do that. But some of the reps will move to see, you say, okay, I think this company is selling more. You go for their interview, they'll move you to another state. Yes, because you feel they have more of what people are actually looking out for. So for some of us, we actually started the supply chain stuff even before we came to community practice. But while you went in community practice, I continue to tell even the IT and flagship students that one of the biggest challenge in community practice is stocking. And that stocking has to do with supply chain. But you also need to understand how the things move away from your shelf. I also tell the people that want to start community practice, don't necessarily stock drugs just because of the knowledge of drugs. Put in some of the things you feel that are the basics. They're stocked according to what people around you are asking for. If you just buy because maybe you were fitting, you decide to use simple tap to feed the whole counter, it may not go, because they may be looking for maybe generics. So while you are starting up, have your out of stock books and records. Stop what people are asking you for. With that, you will see that you can actually make paracetamol a flagship product. Yes, you can make a paracetamol a flagship product. And the money you make there will surpass what other people are making in other things. And it will also help you to allot your scarce resources properly. You will not continue to buy the things that will continue to get dust on the shelves. So, in supply for us now, we have come to also understand now that we don't need to continue to move away from the business to go and make procurement. So even as community pharmacists, we have persons that are now into drug supply chain. That before now we have people that will just concentrate on a particular product. But now the way it is now, we now see people that will stock almost everything you may need. They will just say, send in your out of stock. And they will supply you everything they will need. You should not bother about how to get those products. They are now the one that will bridge the gap between you and the reps. And when you now compare prices, you also see that they are giving you a reasonable price. So the supply chain is making things much easier, even for all of us. Thank you very much.
We have a next question now, which is specifically to Dr. Collins, and then we'll be taking the last one. Before that, this one to Dr. Collins. I want to know how to avoid going around before finally getting to know what I want to do, as in purpose. So the person says he wants to know how to avoid going around before finally getting to know what she wants to do.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. Like we said earlier, it's all about your passion, purpose, you know. When you're in school, you know the course that you do well, you know the particular course. For example, like I told you guys, I really love pharmacology when I was in school. But along the line, I found myself in mathematics. So same thing, maybe you do very well in pharmacology, you love pharmacology, or you love chemistry, pharmacology. So once you identify that, then you just go for it. But there are some issues. For example, maybe you have passion for academia, and there's no vacancy at that distance. But thankfully nowadays we have private universities who are also employing. Those days it used to be more of the public universities. So they employ once in a while, maybe once in 5 years, once in 10 years. It takes time. So you can't just wait for them. You know, you have to be somewhere, like we said earlier, maybe in community pharmacy, maybe as a stage where whenever there's vacancy, you can switch and join them. So the main issue is identify your passion, know what you love, know what makes you happy, know what gives you joy. So once you identify it, then for sure it with all your strength. I'm sure you better be. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And the last question we have here, I think this is for community pharmacy, and it says, how do you handle relatives that want to borrow your license to open a pharmacy?
I think we'll answer this question in 2026. The way the license is structured now, it is tied to the business. So, like, I have a community practice now, my license is tied there. When I opened a second branch, I needed someone to be distributed pharmacist. And the license was also tied to that business. So there is never a time you have relatives wanting to. When I was in the banking industry, well, something like that came up. Yes, but I don't want to play the card after the bag, more like. But yes, then a lot of us did what we call register and go. R&G. It's no longer fashionable. Yes. So that was actually when people will meet me and say, you're a pharmacist, though you're working in a bank, your license is just wasting. And they will cajole you. Okay, come, I will give you so, just for your license to be there. Yeah, but we actually kill our profession by doing that. So if you also find yourself not practicing in pharmacy area, you also don't have to oblige any relation of having doing register and go. Because if you do, with the current regulations, you will be caught. Yes, there's no way they will come to the pharmacy, just the license hanging, and there's no pharmacist or the student pharmacist is not there, they will still be caught. So it does not arise. I also have an occasion when one of my relations also called me and said, okay, why not let us enter into a quotation with your license, you are still in the bank. Well, thank God I resisted that. Because one problem is, they will tell you, okay, we're bringing in this paracetamol, this, that. But under, also using your license to traffic drugs. Yes, so thank God I resisted it because years after, I found out that, oh no, this is not the main business. This is actually the main business. So when you see some people maybe doing so well in a particular thing, maybe they are selling maybe only stationery, maybe books, and they are doing so well, you may think, okay, it's just the books. There are some other things and they may be importing, you are not seeing as giving them that affluence. So when anybody, should you not be practicing pharmacy, ask you for your license to do this, please. Be very, very sure. The blood the relationship is maybe blood tied and you understand what the person is doing. And you can predict that person. If it's someone you cannot predict and the person does not let you into exactly what you are doing, please don't go into it. And I'll also tell you, don't ever live outside your license. If you're not practicing pharmacy, just be renewing as a pharmacist. Don't put it into any business. It may backfire. Thank you.
So let's run together, please. Before we take, I don't know if people have to take this question, but I'll have to make an appeal to our speakers first. This question is from one of us, and I think the person really wants to get an answer to it. So, if you don't mind, Dr. Pharmacist Emmanuel, the question is directed to you. So, he says, what do you have to say about the role policy and environment have to play in setting up a strategic supply chain? For instance, looking at this Dangote refinery located on the Lekki Free Trade Zone. And also, do you think we as pharmacists have a part to play in kind of reducing the operating costs involved in developing a well-established supply chain?
Okay, two-fold question. The first one is,
what you have to say about the role that policy and environment have to play in setting up strategic supply chain.
Okay. For policy and environment, we can't overemphasize the role of policy and environment. All that you see, we mentioned fragmented supply chain. Those supply chains remain fragmented because policies are actually there that keep them that way. Well, I will use this example. When I joined the supply chain arena first, 2008, we had several USA funded programs that were being run by different organizations. And all those different organizations had their own supply chain. Everybody has his own supply chain because in a project, if you see a project running in the country, 80% of the funds to run that project is for supply chain. So it's only 20% that goes to other things, 80% is supply chain. So you saw so many persons running supply chain for the same funder. The USG is bringing money for malaria, for TB, for HIV, for family planning, and the different organizations running those programs have warehouses where they store their commodities. They have transport system that runs their commodities to the facility or wherever they take it to. Whereas all those commodities are all going to a single facility. So it means that I put a truck from Benin. I will use this as an example. I put a truck from Benin to Delta State to Asaba, moving commodities for HIV. And the other partner is moving the same commodity from Benin to Asaba for family planning. Another person is planning tomorrow to move malaria commodities from Benin to Asaba. So it was like people were duplicating effort with the little resources that was available. So what did policy do? There was a time, I think 2012 or 2013, 2011, 2012. The United States government came up with the fact that they wanted to integrate the supply chain. So what did they do? They asked all the partners to put what they would need to run their supply chain. And when that money came out, they took that money, all of it, and gave it to a single organization. They run the supply chain for family planning, for malaria, for HIV, for running an integrated fashion. So what that means is that you have all your commodities stored in one warehouse, managed by one client, and you use a single transport logistics system and transport system to move those commodities from the warehouse to wherever you are moving them to different facilities. So a truck carrying malaria commodities is also carrying HIV commodity for facility in a particular location. So that is policy coming into play. Policy can also come into play by putting barriers to supply chain actually succeeding within your context. Part of the work I do within the state or several states that I've actually worked is to establish policies that support supply chain. We tend to establish things like procurement and supply management technical working group, where you have directors, you have commissioners coming together discussing about the bottlenecks in supply chain so that we can have resolution on how to actually get them. What those people are, because they are leaders in their sector, what they're actually going to do at the end of the day is to change policy that will now suit the supply chain system that is operational. So supply chain policy has a way of actually making supply chain work or not to work. All the work we are doing today is actually changing policy. If Nigeria change their policy on supply chain, we have an integrated system. Because still today, we see an fragmented system where every national body has its own commodities that it wants to actually distribute. We talk about the National Product Supply Chain Management System. They have their own. We talk about the Nigeria Center for Disease Control. They have their own. We talk about those, the Federal Ministry of Health, the Food and Drug Unit. They have their own. So everybody. So till we bring those systems together, luckily the development program that I've run for some years now have actually helped in strengthening that. But still we are not there. Still we are not there. What we have currently in the country, based on policy also, are regional warehousing. So you have a warehouse that cater for a number of states. But what will make supply chain more efficient is you bringing the warehouse closer to where the action is. So you are having warehouses within different states that are standards and are actually functioning. Luckily, government is going towards that angle. The policy. Recently, they set up an agency at the national level and asked all the states to also set up their agency. And the agency is called Drug Management Agency. It's run by a pharmacist. The PS, the executive secretary of the pharmacist. That agency is saddled with bringing all government entities, whatsoever the name of the entity, into one umbrella when it comes to supply chain. They will do pool procurement, they will do integrated warehousing, they will do integrated distribution, or they will do joint distribution as the case may be. So we have that agency currently around, although they've not actually started functioning in full flow, but we are hoping that when they do start, it will bring policy also into play, and to place pharmacy in a position where we are in control of the procurement and management of commodities, even the public health commodities. But those are the very difficult ones to manage. Everybody wants to build its own empire, everybody wants to have its own system. So policy has a role to play. So what was the other question?
Okay, the other question was, do you think we as pharmacists have a part to play in the operating cost, start reducing the operating cost now involved in developing a well-established supply chain?
Yes. In fact, what am I doing today? I'm actually getting my salary because I'm trying to reduce cost. I'm adding value. I'm adding value to what is happening. I'm reducing cost. So pharmacy has a role to play. when you come into supply chain,
Right.
the major thing you are doing, because the supply chain that we have today, it's not like what you have especially when you are into development supply chain. It's not like what you have out there. There are a lot of bottlenecks. There are a lot of instances. You talk about the security we have in the country today. You talk about the bad roads. The person that is moving those trucks will need to deliver. Whether there is kidnapping happening in one place and nobody is moving, or there is bad road, the person needs to deliver. So those things, those issues are actually affecting supply chain within our context. They are actually affecting supply chain. So I would say the big answer is yes. The big answer is yes, that we have issues, I mean. Yeah, we have issues that are actually affecting supply chain within our context. That's the truth. However, when you actually go into an organization, you may actually not be starting your supply chain at the peak. You may actually need to work from bottom up. And what that enables you to do is from enable you to learn. I know when we're talking, I saw most of the persons that came out, their questions on what do I need to earn, what are the pay and everything. Supply chain will give you money, but you need to have that experience, you need to have contributed to actually get to that figure. When I joined supply chain, my salary was close to what was being mentioned. 150, 200, 250, and everything. But at that time, it was big. Imagine what 250 was in 2008. It was very big at that time. But still, it was not that big. It was not compared to what you get from community pharmacy. But you need to actually start off that. Because it starts with that. And by the time you build on yourself and you move from one level to another, you actually will start getting those funds in. I know even when I was earning so much, more than what you earn in the lecturing arena, you actually still learn supply chain. So I would say, take what you want to take what you have to take for supply chain, come into the sector. The most important thing, the most difficult thing is coming to the supply chain arena. It took me years to actually get myself in, and I will tell you, without missing words, I also got reference. Somebody actually recruited me to actually get me there. It wasn't that I just had to go there. I was applying, and some of them will get back to you, some of them will not get back to you. But when I actually got somebody to say, okay, let me have the CV, let me submitted it, but I needed to go there and show that I understood what the Nigerian supply chain was at that time, and understood what the problem were. And those problems, in trying to solve those problems, were actually what gave me my job. Until today, we are still solving the problem. And that is why, if we look back and look at what happened in 2025, I don't know if any of you know what happened in 2025, where the major funders of supply chain system in the country actually put an halt to the supply chain funding for 3 months or several months. And even while that happened, that some organizations did come back. Organizations came back and continued their activity. A lot of organizations did not come back. A lot of organizations lost their project they were implementing, just because the funding were actually taken out of it. So supply chain has a big role to play. Supply chain is what every organization, in fact, no organization is that supply chain. Organ pharmacy, we have its own supply chain too, and we rely on some other supply chain. So it's a good place for us to come into, and pharmacists will continue to solve problems in that arena. But remember, you're not just pharmacists that do supply chain. Don't you know that? It's not just pharmacists. I have colleagues that read English. I have colleagues that are engineers. I have colleagues that are accountants. But the only thing that sets you aside is that when you are in a room and you need to talk about other things, not just the transportation, you need to talk about the drugs, you need to talk about bioavailability, you need to talk about why even the drugs being available, the service is there, the patients are still not getting well. Because you'll be in a room where program managers are, and they won't say because you are supply chain expert, you won't contribute to that sector. Program managers are looking at how do we get the program done, how do we get it done. You contribute. So please, let's for those that want to come into supply chain, it's a good place to get to. But please you know that whether you are there or before you get there, try and actually build yourself. It starts with that. Give yourself, and as long as you are there, you continue to build. So thank you.
Oh. And so we have it, ladies and gentlemen. We finally come to the end of our panel discussion. So much appreciate even the fact that you have to even stay to this moment to take our questions. We are very, very grateful. And without further ado now, we just go straight to the other part of the program, and that's going to be thank you, sir. So we're going to be going to the other parts of the program, and that's going to be giving the awards to our distinguished speaker who have come to bring us. Good afternoon.
Yes, please, let's not waste time, please. Our speakers have to go. So as we're giving them our business, just clap for them.
On behalf of the FIB committee and class of Novi Generis, representing this certificate to you for honoring our invitation and coming to speak with us. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Vice Chairperson, and on behalf of the final year committee opening ceremony, Novi Generis representing this certificate for you for honoring our invitation. Thank you so much, sir, and we appreciate you. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation, and we really, really appreciate it. Good afternoon, sir. Sir, thank you so much. On behalf of the class of Novi Generis and the final year committee, we say thank you for appreciating for honoring our invitation. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Where is MC's appreciation? Very well is in heaven. So we want to thank everybody for coming. Thank you very much, our speakers, for honoring our invitation. We've learned a lot from what you all said. So quickly, to end this session, I want to give a vote of thanks by our chairperson, Miss Miracle. Please come and give us a vote of thanks. Let's clap for her. She come. It's not easy to organize this event. You notice she has walking up and down since this event started, running up and down. So please let's clap for her again. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. So, on behalf of my committee, that's the FID Symposium Committee, and on behalf of the class of Novi Generis, we want to thank our esteemed speakers and panelists for honoring us today, gracing us their presence, their expertise, and everything that we've learned today. I'm very sure that most of us have lots of questions, and some of them have answered. So we're looking forward to come and ask you later, but we want to thank you for coming here today and listening to the present. Thank you so much. And to the Novi Generis class of 2026, I want to appreciate you guys for coming, for sharing all out today, coming to place us with your presence, some of your questions, and everything. Thank you so much for coming.
before we start, you know that everything that we get today, the questions we ask, we are able to put them into practice. At the end of the day, we become the global pharmacists that we all want.
Thank you very much. Somebody say global pharmacist. I want to become a global pharmacist though. I believe that with what we learned, I think I want to go into supply chain, sir. I don't know. Because I like the way it was just, we did us last semester and it was very difficult for me to understand, but the way you said it now, so I think that's what I want to do. Now, I worked in UBTH, I did posting in UBTH. That was last semester. I've done community too, but this supply chain, I want to dabble into everything. Like if I want to know my passion. I'm still young. I want to know my passion. So thank you guys very much again for coming. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for every single thing. It's not easy coming outside, staying from 10 o'clock till this time. Thank you once again, our speakers. Thank you very much, sir. So we want to close. And let's rise as we pray. Shedrack, please give us a closing prayer. Thank you very much. Shall we pray? In Jesus' name. Heavenly Father, Lord my God, we want to say thank you for your amazing love upon our life, for making us being part of this great meeting, Lord. May your name may Lord be glorified in the name of Jesus. But even as we are done with this meeting, Lord, we will not just keep these things we have learned in our pocket or in our book, but we will make use of it mightily in the name of Jesus.
Amen.
I decree in the name of Jesus that everyone in this room will be that global pharmacist with great impact in the name of Jesus.
Amen.
And I commit our panelists unto you, so Lord. Lord, I ask that you use this thing they've done in our life as a medium to bless and transform their life as a whole in the name of Jesus.
Amen.
In your name, may Lord be glorified forevermore, God. For in Jesus' powerful name we are praying.
Amen.
Can you share the grace? Grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the sweet fellowship of the Holy Spirit.